The library smelled of old paper and polished wood, a quiet refuge that never expected chaos. But that afternoon, chaos had found its way between the stacks. They cornered her near the history section, 4 of them, leaning like predators, grins sharp enough to cut through courage. The youngest one, a wiry boy with a crooked smirk, reached first. "Hey, new teacher, lost your way." His voice carried more mockery than words. She barely flinched. A laugh echoed behind him, low and cruel, and suddenly she felt it, a shove, then another. Her books tumbled to the floor, papers scattering like frightened birds. He thought it was all a joke. They all did. The other 3 circled her, arms outstretched, fingers brushing her shoulders, pinning her almost gently, like one would trap an insect against glass. "Relax," one said, voice taunting. "We're just having fun. Don't tell anyone." Her calm didn't crack. That was what unnerved them first. She didn't panic. She didn't shout. She didn't even look around for help. Her gaze locked on the smallest detail, the uneven floorboards near the corner of the aisle, the weight of her satchel against her wrist, the rhythm of their laughter. Time slowed. She let them hold her for a heartbeat longer than they expected. She let their confidence swell. Then, with the precision of someone who had learned the art of movement in silence and shadows, she shifted her weight. It wasn't a wild struggle. It wasn't loud or clumsy. Her elbow drove up, not to hurt, but to destabilize. They stumbled. That's all it took. The wiry boy's smug expression faltered, then snapped into panic. A hand went for her shoulder again, but she twisted, leveraging their own momentum against them. The first 2 boys collided into the shelves, knocking a row of encyclopedias to the floor with a deafening crash. Dust and loose pages floated in the air like tiny specters, making their laughter die mid-thought. And still, she didn't shout. She didn't run. She just moved. Every step she took was deliberate, controlled. Her eyes never left theirs, but she didn't need to speak. Fear spoke for her, the kind of fear that sinks into your bones when you realize you've misjudged someone entirely. By the time the 4th boy realized what was happening, it was too late. She had closed the distance, unyielding, and the small desk that had been in her path became a shield and a weapon in her hands. Not swinging recklessly, no, but with the inevitability of gravity, she sent it between them, separating them with a precision that seemed almost cruel in its simplicity. Silence fell over the library, broken only by the rustling of paper and the uneven breathing of boys who suddenly looked small. They tried to scramble, to regain control, but she moved like water over stone, smooth, unrelenting. Every shove, every grab, every attempt they made was met with the kind of counter that didn't just stop them, it humiliated them. And then she spoke. Not shouting. Not screaming. Her voice was calm, almost serene, like a storm quietly gathering its full wrath. "Do you understand?" she said, eyes narrowing, "what happens when you underestimate someone?" They nodded, though their faces were pale and their knees shaky. Words failed them, which suited her perfectly. Sometimes, silence is a punishment far worse than any lecture. When she finally released them, it wasn't in mercy, it was in statement. They staggered back, dust in their hair, pride shattered on the floor along with their arrogance. The library had shifted somehow, it wasn't just books and shelves anymore. It was territory reclaimed, respect earned the hard way. She picked up her scattered papers slowly, deliberately, as though nothing had happened, yet everything had changed. The youngest one, still staring, muttered something, but she didn't hear it. She was already moving down the aisle, heels clicking against the polished floor, a teacher not to be tested, not to be mocked. And as she passed the last shelf, she paused, looking back over her shoulder. "Let that be your lesson," she said softly. "Not every challenge is meant to be met with laughter. Some are met with reality." The bell rang in the distance, indifferent, calling students to class, to hallways, to normalcy. But the 4 boys would never forget the afternoon they had tried to corner her. They had touched a teacher, yes, but more importantly, they had touched a force they didn't understand. And forces like that? They don't forgive.